All right, thank you so much. Tonight I'll be your host as we wait for Richard and Grace to join us as well. My name is Jacinta Wangare. I work with Atara Solutions Limited, and I'm glad today to have you on board. So you can just let us know how your day has been. Thank you, Catherine, for joining us. Our sign language interpreter, Catherine Sidandi, thank you for your time to join this session. Hi, Emma. I trust your day has been well. Rose, your hand is raised up. How are you? Can let us know how your day has been today. Mother, how are you? Anne, good evening. Charles, we see you. Christopher Kipkemui, we see you. Thank you for having, we're glad that we have you on board. Mercy, Rael, Madangani, glad to see you here. Lynn, Hirali. Mother, hello. You say your day has been perfect. Awesome. Emma, you say your day has been good. Looking forward to learn from this session. Sure enough, we shall learn from the session. We are all looking forward to learn from this session. All right, thank you. As we wait for more people to join, we'll just give a shout out to our partner. Allow me to share the screen as well for that. So we want to give a shout out to the partners that we have for this session 7 of Get It Right with Atara Solutions, Season 2. And we'll start with Nile Front Cottages, located in Uganda. And then we have Profiles International East Africa for all your coaching services. Profiles International is your go-to. Then we have K2HR Services in Rwanda. They are our partners here in Kenya. Then we have Steadfast Quality Solutions Limited as our partners as well. We have AAR Insurance. If you're in need of insurance services, AAR is the go-to. And then we have Hotel Sapphire located in Mombasa, Nairobi. If you have any event, if you want to host any activity, Hotel Sapphire is a perfect place to be. Then we have Tufaha Resorts, located in Nanyuki, Kenya as well. So it's a perfect place for function that you might have in mind for also for vacation, staycation, all those things. Tufaha Resort is a nice place to be. And then we have Panessa Training Institute. This is a school that teaches woodwork, carpentry, and joinery mainly. If you have an interest or you know someone who would want to learn woodwork, then Panessa Training Institute is the place to be. It's located along Mombasa Road, opposite Airtel. And then we have Port Sacco as our partners as well in Mombasa. Then we have Sotet Kinyumbani for all your local dishes, delicious meals. Sotet Kinyumbani is the place to be. It's along Nanyuki Road. So thank you so much to our partners. We are glad that you have partnered with us. Yeah, and we're looking forward to more partnerships. So tonight we are here to learn, to unlearn, to relearn, all those things. And our speaker today is none other than Caroline, and I will let her introduce herself. But even before she introduces herself, the question that you are asking tonight is, what is the one thing holding you back? Isn't it a lack of talent, but the way you learn as an individual, or as an organization. So here we are here to learn and to know the power of learning for breakthrough results. So without so much ado, I will allow Caroline to introduce herself and take us through the session for tonight. Caroline?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you loud and
Okay,
clear.
awesome. Thank you very much, Jacinta. Happy to be here and happy to just be part of this very, very important discussion. We are going to look at success. We are going to look at what it takes to really do well and to succeed in life, because I think that's the desire that everybody has, to be able to, look back on your life and say that indeed you're happy with what you have accomplished in your life. So my name is Caroline Nyamwaya Mwazi. I'm just putting up my slides. You'll be able to see them. And what we're looking at today is the power of learning for breakthrough results. I don't think there's anyone in this room who does not want to succeed or wants to get breakthrough results. So how do you learn is what we'll be looking at today. And how well do you apply your learning? So before we get too much into the session, allow me to share my screen and just a little bit about me. So as you heard, my name is Caroline Nyamwaya Mwazi, and I run Huru Consult, which is a management and training consulting company that's based in Nairobi. I'm also the conference chair for the L&D Africa conference for this year, which is why you're seeing the branding everywhere on my slides. And my background is in banking, so that's what I did to start out in my career. Did that for a number of years, and now I'm a training consultant. So really excited to be here to discuss what we are discussing. I started Huru Consult in 2007, and I'm a specialist in strategy, governance. I'm also an IFC master trainer. IFC is the International Finance Corporation, and also a certified trainer assessor. So I certify trainers with the Learning and Development Institute of the UK, and I'm also a certified online learning facilitator and designer of online learning. In addition to this, I also have, done trainings both locally and internationally. But let me tell you something. The thing that got me into training was while I was in the bank working as a corporate relationship manager, they had a program where managers were able to train other colleagues in particular areas. So as being in sales, I felt that I wanted to get into, training some of my colleagues because I wanted to develop my presentation skills. What I did not realize is that I love seeing people change. I love seeing people improve as well. So that's what it explains there at the end, that I'm a lover of people and organizational development and impact-driven solutions. I'm also passionate about creating practical solutions that drive personal and organizational transformation. So it's not for nothing that I call myself Chief Change Catalyst, because I believe that yes, we are born and we are born with all the potential we have, but as we go through life, and especially as we learn through our experiences, not only through what we learn academically, then we become bigger and better in what we do. So to get us started in our session today, I'd like us to go to Menti. So I'll stop sharing this screen and put on my Menti screen for us to do a short activity, which will just help us to know who's in the room, where are we, and what do we actually think about success, and really what does it take to achieve breakthrough success. So remember, you can be as honest as possible. Nobody else is there. It's just you and your device. So let's go to menti.com, and then we'll go to 7717 2667 just as we get started with our session today. Thank you very much. The screen is loading. I think you'll soon be able to see it. Thank you. So there we are. What is your definition of success? So you want to go to Menti. Let me see if I can get the link and share it in chat to make it easy for us to just go there directly. There it is. Okay, so I'm sharing it in chat, but if you're already on your browser, all you need to do is to enter the code, which is 77172667. Thank you. So I've shared it. I just want to see how I can get it to everybody, to everyone. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's go to Menti. And you'll be able to then participate. I can see we are quite a good number. We are nearly 50 in the session. So that means that we can really participate, and we need to get good answers coming in. So I can see we are joining, which is great. So let's join. And as we do so, let us then participate, and let's start seeing what our definitions of success are. Thank you. Okay. So let's see your responses. Okay, so somebody has already answered: peace of mind, impact, influence, income. Let's see more answers coming through. Time, freedom. Thank you. Good answers there. Very few have joined. Let's have more of us joining so that we get more answers. It seems more than one person has shared peace of mind, which is quite interesting. So let's see that. Yeah, so peace of mind, freedom to time, achieving your goals. Yes, absolutely. And that has been mentioned by 3 people in 3 different ways. One person says achieving my purpose in, I think the L stands for life. Somebody else says achieving my goals. Another person says time, freedom, freedom. There's a lot of freedom there as well. Significant, somebody else says. What else are we seeing here? Impact, influence, income. Yes, impact, influence, income. So money, achieving purpose. Hey, achieving purpose is appearing quite a number of times. There's achieving purpose in life, achieving purpose, achieving your goals, fulfilled purpose, which is similar to achieving purpose. Good health and happiness. Yeah, that's great. What else? I think everything else I seem to have read. We'll just wait a few more seconds for those that might still have something to share. There's something in chat. Jacinta, if you could help me to monitor chat. Oh, I shared the code again. Jennifer says, so there it is. Thank you. All right. And you want to stay there because we've got 2 or 3, I think 3 other questions that we shall be answering. Thank you. So freedom also is a frequent flyer on this flight. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Freedom again. So quite a number of freedom, but the one that seems to be a recurring theme is achievement of goals. Thank you very much. Good. So let's go to the next one, which is, how are you doing? On a scale of 1 to 10, how successful would you say you are on this scale? Thank you. So all you need to do is use your sliding scale, and you should be able to then indicate how you're doing. We'll see your different scores, and we'll also be able to see the average for those of us who are in the room. Let's join, more of us join, so that we can see how that is going. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll wait for more of you to share. Okay. So let's wait a few more seconds, maybe 5 more seconds. All right. Okay, so let's have a look at where we are in terms of the average. All right, so there we are, 5.8. So most of us have rated ourselves around 7. We have quite a number of 5s there. So somewhere in the middle, we have, I think, 1.8. That's the highest score that we have. The lowest we have seems to be around a 3. Right? So most of us are somewhere in the middle, which looks like ranging from 4 to 7 or something like that, which gives us the average of 5.8. So yes, in general, we are successful, but not as successful as we'd like to be, perhaps, right? So our success to date is at around 5.8, which of course indicates that there's room for improvement, and I think a lot of room for improvement. Thank you. So let's then look at the next one. I don't know if more people are scoring. I can see a few people are joining. So maybe another 5 seconds, then we can see. All right. So for the next question, then we're asking, what has held you back? What has held you back? Okay, you're welcome, Jennifer. And then Paul has added here in chat, good health and happiness. Yes, we had a number of those. We also had freedom and others. So what has held you back, ladies and gentlemen? Because if that's what you're defining as success, if that is how you've scored yourself, what has held you back? Okay, so we've got fear of the unknown. Yeah, good. Let's have more answers coming through. Okay. So good responses here. We have a smiley face. I'm not sure why, but oh, wow. So somebody saying marriage has held you back, which is quite interesting. So let's look at this. And this is really deep because when you see the letters are large, that's actually an indication of many people have taken that. And the interesting thing, because I'm really deep about transformation, for many people, fear and procrastination and myself is just really what holds us back. So we'll just unpack those a bit. So let me read the smaller ones, then I'll come to the bigger ones. So somebody here is saying poor planning. Someone else is saying office politics, self-doubt, capital. Self-doubt, okay, so I've read that again. Underestimating my value, so that's an example of myself. Lack of confidence, bad partnerships, poor planning, gender discrimination, fear, finance, procrastination. So that again has been mentioned. The only reason why procrastination here is small is just because we missed the R. So procrastination would have been bigger than it is. Gender discrimination, yes. Fear of failure, dedication to family, yes. Sometimes you have to weigh options and then to make choices. And yes, dedication to family can hold you back, but I hope not in a bad way, because something does have to give. And usually in the long term, you don't regret prioritizing family. Black tax, yes. Just to explain to those of you who might not understand what black tax is, it is where yes, you're working, you're successful, and then at home, there's the expectation in the village, right? Or from your family, the expectation that now you need to pay us because we paid your fees, right? We supported you. If you went out of the country, we raised the airfare and we supported you. So now it's time for you to pay back, quote unquote. All right, so those are some of the small ones. So capital, etc., self-doubt. I think those are most of them. Let's now look at the big ones in order. So procrastination, yes, putting off for tomorrow what you ought to do today. Fear is the biggest. And so it would be good to unpack the fear. What exactly is it that you're afraid of? Is it fear of the unknown, fear of trying new things, fear of going into new territory? And as we are in this session today, think about, what do I want? Do I want to continue living like that? As we look at this, yeah, comfort zone syndrome, imposter syndrome, where you feel like you don't belong in the spaces that you want to go into. Gender discrimination, it's what you do with it. I was in a forum last week where somebody was speaking about the glass ceiling has already been broken, but maybe we think that it still exists. So even for gender, a lot of doors and spaces have been open, and we can work on ways of getting them open even more to get into the spaces we want to be in. Sometimes it could be race as well. If you're in environments where people are different race from you, feeling like you don't belong and so on. So there are different things that make us different. For some other people, it could also be age. Either you're considered to be too old or too young. But at the end of the day, I think the myself is the one that holds us back, and also fear. And so my question to you, even as we look at this, would be to ask for you to ask yourself, what is it really that you're afraid of? What is it really that makes you to procrastinate? Because there's something that you tell yourself that makes you procrastinate. What about, the bad partnerships? So all of these, they're things that we learn out of all these experiences. Self-doubt, why do you doubt yourself? How then do we find ways of overcoming? Because whatever it is that we've been through and whatever it is that we do, whether it's a good habit or a bad habit, teaches us. And so my next and the last one, because we are looking at learning, the value of learning for breakthrough success, is that as you've gone through life, what are the big lessons? What are the important lessons that you have learned? And of course, we are aligning those to breakthrough success, right? So thank you very much for that. I took a bit of time there because it's good sometimes to just pause and ponder. So what is the most important lesson that you have learned in life? And of course, we're looking at lessons for breakthrough success. Thank you. Okay, very good answers. Okay, good. So resilience is the big fat one, the biggest lesson that you have learned. Involve God in everything. Thank you very much. My words are all jumbled up, so I'm just waiting for them to settle. Sometimes they do that. Thank you. So, and please, as you wrote these answers, write them down on the notepad next to you. Both what you typed in for what holds you back and what you typed in for the most important lesson that you've learned in life. Okay, so let's go through them. Personal branding is key. Personal branding, how you show up, right? Other lessons are, so as we are adding, they're moving around, but no worries. Discernment. Discernment speaks to relationships, the partnerships that you get into, not taking things at face value, but looking at them Don't be afraid. Cut fear. I like that. You cut it or you kill it, but get rid of it. Throw it away. You don't need it. It limits you. Yeah. What other ones do we have here? Diligence. Yes, diligence pays off. Embracing challenges, but God, yes, the spiritual help it takes us, where we can't even take ourselves. Thank you. So the courage involve God in all. So lots there about God. Diligence pays off. Yes, because you can involve God, but we also need to work at the end of the day. And the Bible actually does say that the hand of the diligent makes rich. Thank you. Don't give up on you. Believe in myself. Family is everything. Resilience, audacity. Love that. Courage, yes. I usually tell people do it scared because sometimes you hold yourself back because you're like, what will happen? How will it be? How will they take me? And so on. But go into those spaces, prepare and do it scared. But God, maximize opportunities, widen the scope of things. Yes, I can. I love that. Don't give up on you. Now, you see, it's beautiful that we've learned these lessons. But you see, learning is for your head. Yeah, you've learned, you've realized. But you know what the definition of learning is? That only when there's a change in behavior, then somebody is said to have learned. It's actually a quote not attributed to anyone, but that's really how we say we've learned. So we are saying that these are the lessons. My question to you and my challenge to you is, how are you then walking in these lessons that you have learned? How are you walking in not underestimating yourself? And ladies and gentlemen, I know that these are things that you carry with yourself for a long time through life. You carry these thoughts, that I'm afraid, I'm not worthy, I'm not able to, I failed before, will I be successful again? But if you're saying, do it afraid, cut fear, then are you really showing up like that? Are you saying that, yes, indeed? When you say personal branding is key, when was the last time you went through your wardrobe and got rid of the things that no longer fit you and stayed with the maybe few things, but the things that show you up at your best? And remember, personal branding is not only appearance, but it's also about who you are inside, because that is what authentically engages with people. When you say family is everything, how are you making it truly everything? And what about audacity? If you need to develop more audacity, are you actually actively working to do so? And resilience, the last time you had a setback, did it floor you or break you, or were you able to arise and take the challenge head on? Same to courage again. Beginning again. We know it's not easy, but if you don't begin, then you'll never ever make it to the end, to the finish line that you might want. So very, very profound. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, we can go back to what we have. We can stay the same, but remember, if we've truly learned all these lessons, I wish we had more time for me to really read them in detail. But if we really take time to learn the lessons that we've learned, then there ought to be a change in what we do and how we do it. Thank you very much. So thank you for all your participation. Very profound. I'm really encouraged and happy with the way that you have shared. Let's now have a look at just a few things that I had put together for us. And I'm already looking at the time. I'm like, my goodness, where did it go? So we're gonna just try to manage our time so that we move at a good pace. Thank you very much. Okay, so what we're looking at today really is the value of learning, and how then do we create and implement learning for breakthrough success. Thank you very much. Okay, so then let's just start by looking at the definition of learning, and then we'll just talk through the rest, all right? So, all right. Let me just put up my slides. Give me a second to do that real quick. All right, so the definition of learning is I got this from a gentleman called Og Mandino, who wrote the book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. So what we want to look at in our time together is defining what success is. And then we're also going to look at the value of learning. And then we look at how do we create and implement learning for breakthrough success. So let's start by looking at the definition of success. Success has been defined by Og Mandino as whatever you define it to be. And we saw this already from the slides that we looked at, from the exercise that we did earlier. Success indeed is freedom. It is money. It is being able to live the life that we wanted to have. It could be for somebody having money, but money for its own sake is not really it. It's also, being able to engage effectively with your world. So it could be with your family, it could be at work, it could be rising, in your opinion, to the highest level of business, the highest levels in your organization, could also be the highest levels in your society, whatever you define that as really success. But either you have got it or you don't have it. Now, on the journey towards achieving success, the one important thing that you need to have is goals. And the next important thing you need to have is the way you're going to get to your goals. And so once you've defined what your success is, whatever it is, it could be sales, it could be to achieve a promotion, it could even be educational. Whatever you've defined what it is that you want to succeed in, my next question is, what do you do to make it happen? And the value of learning through that journey is that, are you changing? Are you becoming that person? So for example, maybe you want to become an amazing presenter, but at the moment, the things that hold you back, you're shy, you are retiring, you're not able to speak articulately, or, maybe your voice is not a strong voice. And so you put yourself on a learning path, right? So maybe you might do a training on presentation skills, you might read presentation, and these are the different ways that we learn. But as you're learning, then my question to you is, how are you applying that learning? And that's one of the most important things you need to do. We'll also look at how this can work for organizations, but we are starting with it at the personal level. Number one, you need to define what is your success. Number two, you need to put yourself on a journey to achieve that. And a key part of that journey is learning. Now, there's the learning in terms of acquisition of knowledge. There's the learning also in terms of realizing this is how I need to be, this is how I need to show up. But once you know, then you need to apply. And so the importance of learning, whether you're looking at it as organizations or you as an individual, is, are you changing? For example, let us take somebody who's a chronic latecomer, right? So they go through coaching, maybe they read a book on time management or keeping time, on punctuality and so on. But there's some things they realize they need to change, because I coach. And one of the things you learn as a coach is that the answers lie with the clients. So maybe somebody comes and says, I have a problem with punctuality. I'm always late for things, etc., etc. So as a coach, you ask them a series of questions, and lo and behold, the answer comes. But when you ask them, what is holding you back? Oh, when my alarm goes off, I sleep for another 5 or 10 minutes. And then I wake up and I rush about, and, I don't make it in time. So then as a coach, you might ask, then what needs to change? And the person says, well, when my alarm goes off, I get up. Or it might be, I need to put on my alarm for an earlier time. Or it might be, I need to arrange my things the evening before, or any combination of that. Now, how do we know that they have learned? Of course, they have acquired the knowledge, but the transformation then happens when they actually start to change. So in that process of change, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you find that there are people who will do it well for a day or two, and also fall. Does that mean they haven't learned? No, because they've begun the journey of change. And one of the things we need to be is to be compassionate with the people around us as they're trying to do things differently, because the journey of change is not always an easy journey. You might say that you need to save money, you want to do things differently, you want to do things better, but unless you are getting up even when you fall and keeping on going, then the change won't happen. So yes, resilience, which was mentioned earlier by us, is key. The other thing that is key is having a clear plan. You must have a plan that takes you from step A to step B to step C, step by step towards the goal you have. Now, as you're going towards your goal, the other important thing you need to do is to have regular reviews. So why don't we share in chat, what are some of the things that we want to achieve, and what are the things that we then learn as well? So what are the things that we've put ourselves on a learning path for? It could be presentation skills, it could be your networking, it could be wanting to start a business, so you're reading up on business. So yes, you've gone for that course, you've done the reading. How are you then measuring your progress? Okay, so that is the value of learning. And that is then what we need to make sure we are doing. So number one, defining our success, right? Number two is to then map out the steps that will take you to that place. Of course, learning will be involved, but the third thing you need to do then is to then see if you're actually putting in practice the things that you are learning. Very, very important to do that. So the value of learning is that we want to change, and we only know learning has happened when transformation has actually happened. So let's see in chat, what are some of the things that we are looking to learn, and how are you translating that? There is a challenge. When we're talking about changing habits, then of course, then we have the issues of, yeah, I want to change, but my old habits are holding me back. How do we break through out of that? Okay, very good. So then to look then here, how do you then create and implement your learning? You need to know, where will I get the knowledge, right? So then you need to think about the people around you, the books that you might need. One thing that I always do, I will watch a YouTube video on the same, I will read online articles, but remember that is head knowledge. It's what I do with the knowledge, whether it's a skill I want to have, that then shows the difference. How else do we learn? We also learn through experiences, ladies and gentlemen. Like when you're new in a relationship or new in a place of work, very quickly you learn, this I can do, this I can't do. Why? Maybe you burn your fingers. Not literally, but of course, you have an experience, you burn your fingers, you're like, okay, so next time I need to talk to so-and-so, I shouldn't talk to them like this. I talk to them in a different way. Children also learn. They learn through experiences. They learn through what is reinforced and what is discouraged. And so we need to then really do this in a very coherent way. So that is it with you. So my question to you, and this is now key, you have your plan, you've put it in place. Do you also have regular milestones to just review what you're doing? So yes, the clarity you define, right? And then you create a plan, and then you implement it. And remember, the implementation can be messy. Sometimes you are succeeding, you seem to be winning, then you fall. When you fall, what do you tell yourself? And that's really where the learning happens. What made me fall? What will I do differently next time? And then you have to stand up. And sometimes I know it's hard to stand, but you must, otherwise you'll stay in the same place, and then you get on with it again. You go again, and then you might fall again. But what you find is that you're starting to build your muscles. You're starting to then eventually, if we go back to my example about being punctual, you find that now, whereas I was late, let's say 4 days in a week, nowadays I'm late 2 days a week. Eventually you find that I'm late 1 day a week. Sometimes that might increase to 3 days, but now as you're learning, you start building strength and muscles to continue, and eventually you get to that place. Same thing with public speaking. Same thing with relationships. This morning I was speaking on emotional intelligence, and we were talking about developing social skills. getting along with people, developing listening skills. There's a lot that can help us to achieve breakthrough success according to what you've defined it. But ultimately, it's about defining what your success is, then creating the map, the roadmap for you to actually do it. And then you start on the map, and then you have regular reviews. The regular reviews are where you are now asking yourself, this is where I said I'd be. Have I achieved it? Yes, I have achieved it. What helped me achieve it? Remember, we're always learning, even in that process. What then hindered me? So what will I do differently next time? And then you implement it. One thing that will really help you with this as well is having accountability. So not going alone, but going with one or two people who are available, who are supportive, who are helpful to help you then to do that. So with that, I think, and I'm looking at the time as well, we can look at, there are a few questions. Thank you. And then we'll be able to continue with the session. So I'll hand it over to you, Jacinta. Do we have any questions that we can answer at this point in terms of the framework? And then James says personal financial acumen, of course. So James, what are you doing to achieve that personal financial acumen? I also see that someone is saying my volume is low, and indeed it is. Let me just increase it. Apologies, I hadn't seen that before. I hope that's better. Let me know. Thank you. Sometimes Zoom does that number on me from time to time. Thank you very much. So we can pause there. And then I'm going to share just a little bit on learning in organizations, how that works, and then we'll be able to wrap it up. It's the same steps, but a bit more detail, but I'll do that very fast and then we'll wrap it up. Thank you. Great. Thank you, Sarah, for that. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. So we have a question, I think, in chat. Oh, somebody had answered a question. So in terms of what hold you back, Emma had said sickness, and it's true, that can hold us back. So you had planned to achieve things, but something happened. And sometimes it's not only you being sick, it could be also illness in the family. Thank you. Great. There was one question that I had seen. How do you then measure the return on investment from the learning? Thank you. So it depends. For organizations, I'll share a framework for that, and then you will be able to see how that happens. So usually there's both financial and non-financial, Mary. The financial is, what did we invest? As a result of the intervention of the learning, what are we getting out of it? And then for you as an individual, are you then getting the breakthrough results? Are you now having the results that you had wanted? That's how you do it. So you define the output, and then you see whether or not with what you put in, you have that output. But there's a framework for that. I hadn't really planned on sharing it today, but I can share it in chat. For those of you in learning and development, there's what is called the, let me start with the Kirkpatrick framework for learning. And this doesn't quite apply on the personal level, but it could still be useful. So the first thing is that, did they like it? Did the learners like it? Let me just write one word. So did they like it? The second level, did they learn? So yes, did they like it? So emotionally, did they learn? The third one is, did they use it? Remember, you have to use it, otherwise we won't get the results we want, the transformation we want, the change we want. The fourth one is what was the impact? So when you're measuring impact, and that's monitoring and evaluation in a nutshell, when you're measuring impact, it's about, what did we learn, right? What did we get the results that we wanted? So it's both financial and non-financial. In addition to Kirkpatrick, there's another gentleman known as Phillips who came up with ROI. ROI is simply the financial return, but other learning thinkers have gone beyond that, because return can be both financial and financial. So instead of impact, allow me to say results. That's really what the Kirkpatrick one had. But it still makes sense because really, when we are talking of financial, it's ROI. When we are talking of non-financial, then that ultimately is impact. So for those of you who are writing notes, instead of the 4 here for impact, just write results. So those are the levels of learning to evaluate learning. So 1, did they like it? Did they learn? Did they use it? So was there a change? And what was the impact of that? And finally, for the money we put in, let's say if we put in 100,000, what have we gotten back in return? But some learning thinkers, as I said, have been thinking that is, it's not only financial, it's about the impact. There's some clients I work with who are NGOs, and they don't really look at the financial return, but they look at the impact as well. So how many children have gone to school? How many how many women, have been educated? What is also still the financial return? How much are they earning now as a result? Are they able to employ other people? So all that is also impact measurement, but it always goes back to how did you define your success in the first place? And then did we achieve those things? And even then, there is learning when you're measuring. So what helped us to achieve and what hindered us from achieving? So next time, what do we do differently? Because that really is where the learning happens. So continue sharing your questions in chat. Allow me to share something on learning in organizations, just a couple of slides, which needs to be linked to strategy. So let me just put those up and share them just for you to appreciate also how this plays out in organizations. It's the same journey, except for organizations, it's a bigger journey because we're talking about people, they're different moving parts, but the framework remains exactly the same. Thank you. So let's look, first of all, at strategy in a nutshell. I'm just trying to get my Zoom to project properly, and then I'll share it. Okay, so here we are, strategy in a nutshell. We start with the defining, so you'll be able to see the similarities to individual and to organizational. So we start, first of all, by defining the journey. Not sure why it's not moving. Okay, there we go. So let's start. So first of all, we define by saying where we want to go. Then we look at where we are. This is strategy in a nutshell. This is something that is taught for an entire semester or an entire course. This is just in a nutshell. Where are we now? This is now at the organizational level. How will we get there? Those are the steps we look at. Then we do the steps one by one. This is what we need to do. And among other things, for organizations, of course, for learning, we're looking at people. And how that then happens is that we'll ignore this one, but we look at what needs to happen, right? So this is where you're saying, what do I need to be at the individual level? At the business level, what competencies must our people embody to contribute to the strategic objectives in their role? Where are the gaps? How do we close them? So in your case, individually, where are the gaps? How will I achieve it? If you know that that position needs you to have a master's degree, that might be a gap. Or you stalled at the project level. So how do you close it? Finish your project. Sign up for a master's course, do your master's. For organizations, the assumption is that the bus is heading in the right direction, which means we have the right strategy and we have the right people on the right seats of the bus. Okay. Now, for learning in organizations, and this is also where you see the evaluation happening, is that, I think I skipped, this is the slide, is that we go through what is called the learning cycle, right? So we assess performance needs, we design the learning based on the findings here. So there's research that happens here. Then we design what will actually happen. We facilitate the learning. There has to be support of transfer of learning, and then we still evaluate. Using those steps I told you, did they like it? Did they learn? Did they use it? What were the results? And then at the top level, according to Phillips, you also measure from the money that we spent, how much money have we made? But remember, there's also other impacts. So there's financial and non-financial results. And all the time, of course, for those of you who are in learning and development, you must partner with your clients as well. So that's how it happens at the organizational level. When you're evaluating learning, whether it is for you in terms of achieving your strategy in the business, in terms of achieving your strategy, you personally, in terms of achieving the results you want, you're asking yourself the things we set out to do and how we went about it. Have we achieved the results that we want? The big question to ask yourself, why? Have we achieved it, or why not? You document those, and ladies and gentlemen, I highly encourage you to keep a journal. Document those and then use that to iterate upwards, because breakthrough success is not a destination, it is a journey. So you keep iterating upwards, because even if you achieve what it is you wanted, as long as you're still alive, there'll be something else that you are working towards. And the good muscles that you have built to help you up to this point are the ones that will take you to the rest of the destination. So thank you. That is me in terms of sharing. I don't know are there any other questions that have come? If I've missed your question, please type it again. I'll be able to see it in chat or in the Q&A. Thank you. I hope that has answered all your questions. Thank you. So somebody is asking, how do you instill a learning culture in an organization? It starts at the top. It's change, and change has to come from the top. So that's how you instill it. Yes, it can come as a suggestion from the participants, from the people in the organization, the employees, but who needs to say yes at the top? Right? So that's how you institute. So how does culture change happen? First of all, you define again, this is the culture that we want. So always beginning with the end in mind, as Steve Covey said, and then where are we now? And then you start saying, how are we going to do the learning? How are we going to actually define the learning? So what do the salespeople need to learn to embody this culture? What do the other people, what does the team need to embrace? So you could rally them around the values, or, you define the culture you want, and then you work it backwards. Culture change always starts with the leadership, because if you change the leadership and if the leaders do the right things, it will trickle down to the rest of the organization. For large organizations, it can take a year to 2 years. For small organizations, 2 or 3 people, 10 people, 20 people, within 3 to 6 months, change can be instituted. But just as I said earlier, you define the journey, you define where we are now, you map out the steps, and then you start implementing the steps. And as you do so, you do regular reviews. Are we heading in the right direction? How's it going? What do we need to change? What do we need to increase? What do we need to reduce? Then you continue implementing with regular reviews. And I think a good question also to answer, I'm asking it myself and answering it, is how often do you review? So typically, if you're looking at doing something, let's say long term, the good thing to do is to plan it at quarterly level, and then to do monthly interim reviews towards the quarter. Then you plan the next quarter and you do that. With a change plan, typically, there should be monthly reviews, because change does take a bit longer. On the outside, maybe 6 months. If you want it to really stick, you need to work on it for a year. You need to monitor the communication. There's training also that's involved in the culture change. But the monitoring you do in between helps you to ensure that you get the results that you want. So I hope that answers your question. I think there's one more that seems to have come. I talk about evaluation of learning. Thank you, Max. I shared the framework, the Kirkpatrick framework, and then the additional 5th level, which was introduced by Phillips. So let me just add them again. So you ask the question, did they learn? Right? And those are the happy sheets that people sign at the end of a training, right? So did they learn? No, did they like it? That's the first one. So allow me to just begin again. I can delete learn. So basically, it's in the chat. So if you scroll up, you'll see number 1, did they like it? Number 2, Did they learn? Number three, did they like it? Did they learn? Did they use it? So did they apply it? And that's where the supporting transfer of learning I shared on the slides helps. Yes, I'll email the slides, then they'll be shared with you. So did they like it? Did they learn? Those two are done immediately after the training, the happy sheets, the evaluation forms, so you're able to know. For those of you who are doing evaluation forms that don't include what did you learn, include that, because those are the first two levels. The next two levels come after a period of time because it takes time to apply learning and to see the impact. But the next two levels are, did they use it? The last one is, did they what were the results, right? So those four were by Kirkpatrick. Then the next one is now by Phillips, who said what Kirkpatrick has done is not enough. We need to add another level. That other level is, what was the return on investment? And other people have said not only financial, because Phillips looks at financial, also non-financial. And always in line with the goals. What were the original objectives of that training? So even with the culture change, have we achieved the change that we wanted? Thank you. I hope that helps. And yes, we'll share slides to Justine, and I'm glad that this has come in time for you. You're very, very welcome. Thank you. I think that answers all the questions. Max, I hope your question has been answered. Please let us know in chat if that has happened. And I've also answered the question on instilling a learning culture in an organization. To make it easy, you need to do it as a project. Just to add to instilling a learning culture, you do it as a project in terms of, we want this to be a learning organization. Remember, learning is not only the learning that happens with training. Learning can happen via coaching. Learning can happen via on-the-job training, but making sure people are learning. Learning can also happen by teams looking back and saying, these are the things that the objectives, the things that we said we were going to do in this particular quarter. What have we done well? What have we done not well? What do we learn out of that? Remember, it's not only about education in your head, but it's also about what you're also learning through the experiences. As a salesperson, you can learn still from your experiences in the field. Whatever profession that you do, even as an accountant, you can learn just by doing it. And so you practice and you develop and refine your practices as a profession. So as a professional, so that applies across the board. We've looked at learning for individuals, you as an individual. We've also looked at how learning happens in organizations. So thank you for that. I've answered the questions. So Jacinta, do I go ahead and share on the Learning and Development Conference?
Yes, you can go ahead, Miss Caroline. And also, we have a comment from James. He's
Yes.
saying that maybe next time you could share any unique L&D approach to Gen Z. Yeah, maybe that's something.
Let me do that now very briefly, because it's a passion area for me.
Yeah.
And very briefly, maybe we'll do a longer one later. It's simply about understanding your audience. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to always know your audience, and you have to know what they appreciate, and you have to learn their language. That's the short answer. The long answer is, how you design. So those steps I said, and needs assessment, etc. It's how you design them and how you go, but that's how you do it. You must understand your audience, whichever one, because even in mixed organizations, pitching a training too junior for people who are senior, they won't appreciate it. Or too high for people who are junior, they won't appreciate it. So you need to take into account learning styles. You need to take into account culture. You need to also take into account the generation. So there's lots to do there, but that's the short answer. If you call me back, I'll be happy to get into that in more detail. Thank you. Long story short, and I'm speaking for the Gen Zs in the house, Gen Zs are here to stay. They're the leaders of tomorrow, literally, and they're the leaders now as well. So let's embrace them, and let's really get the ones that really are passionate about what they're doing. And they're there. I've worked with them. I love working with young people because they're fast, they learn, they ask questions, and let's create the culture where there's space for everyone. So I hope that helps. That's a short answer. We'll do the long answer later. Thank you. Excellent. So let's have a look at I think the addresses are already held.
Yes, let me,
So
those who are sharing their email addresses, if you registered, which I believe we all did, to be
yes.
able to use yeah, we have your email addresses. So there's no need to put them on the chat.
Exactly. So what I'll do is I'll share the slides with the team and then they'll be able to share them to you by tomorrow. Thank you very much. So just a little bit about L&D Africa, because we are having a conference in October 15th to the 17th. It's a dynamic network of professionals that are committed to advancing personal and organizational development across Africa. And it brings together practitioners, enthusiasts in learning and development industry. So if you're interested even in becoming a trainer, a coach, in becoming an instructional designer, or somebody who evaluates learning, this is the place for you to come, because it's the only one of its kind in Africa. And we look to create innovative homegrown solutions across Africa's unique challenges while aligning with global best practices. So that's what we do. And it's a conference that started in 2020, and it was convened by another IFC master trainer, Margaret Jackson, and 14 other co-founders. And it has been held every year, initially virtually, and nowadays as a hybrid. And for the first time last year, it came to East Africa. So out of home, which was Accra, to East Africa, because the feeling at the end of the 2023 conference is, how do we say that this thing is African and it's just staying in Accra? So it came to Nairobi last year, and we're doing it again this year before it goes to other regions. So it's continuing to grow and it's doing really well. And the theme is Bridging the Gap, Innovative Learning for Africa. It will be taking place at the Agile Grand Hotel with lots of discussions, plenary sessions, discussions, breakouts, different speakers, with only one agenda for the participants, the attendees, to connect, to learn, and to grow. And so we are looking to engage with L&D practitioners, that's learning and development practitioners. So remember, coach, consultant, trainer, somebody working in learning and development. Even if you're supporting learning and development, this is the conference for you, because we are covering all areas of learning and development and all levels of experience. So we'll have local and international speakers. I'll be happy to also share the link on the information session, because during that we showcased a number of the speakers. So it will give you a flavor of the conference. We also had keynoters from private, we will have keynoters from private and public sector. We'll be looking at case studies. There'll be master classes, leadership and personal development sessions, and every session has been curated to be valuable and enriching. And so the themes that we'll be looking at AI learning. I don't think there's a conference nowadays that doesn't have AI, because really AI has taken the world by storm, helping a lot even in learning and development in terms of content creation and digitalizing learning. Then also we'll be looking at from chalkboard to chatbots, looking at the digital leap for learning. AI definitely part of education for the future. We'll also be looking at future-ready skills. How do we prepare Africa's workforce? And also looking at from rural to urban, because if you travel almost anywhere in Africa, I was in Uganda just about a month or so ago, everywhere is built up. It's not the way it was before, where there'd be expanses of land. Many places are becoming urban. In Kenya, of course, as you well know, with the devolution, the rural areas are no longer rural. It's really urban as well. So how do we expand learning opportunities? How do we even bridge not only the skills gap, but also the distance gap? One thing I keep on talking about when I'm talking about the future of learning is also about enhancing technology and infrastructure, so that anyone, anywhere can access learning and it doesn't have to be expensive. But also looking at bridging skills gaps, aligning learning with industry needs. So for you, if you attend, you'll network across the across the continent. You'll also be able to learn best practice, to share best practice. It's accelerated learning. And that's why I love conferences, because it's concentrated. 3 days, you will learn. Yes, and then you'll be able to go and process what you've learned and begin to apply it. You'll grow your skills. There'll be personal growth and development. And for those of you who are in HR or learning and development, you'll be able to elevate your engagement with your sponsors, increasing, of course, we talked about it already, return on investment and value add to the sponsors. And also your own branding as an L&D professional will be elevated, leading to you growing in your career. And for those of you who are learning consultants, training consultants and coaches, your businesses will also grow. There's also the opportunity to sponsor and also to be an exhibitor. And of course, there'll be visibility across the continent. You'll be able to network as well and to promote your organization and to sell your products and your services, both in the conference and afterwards. Now, we are building on what we did last year. Last year, we had good feedback already, and it's the first time that we were doing it. This time, we are targeting many more to attend. So a bigger number. We had about 70 people attending last year in person and about 70 also online. This time, we are targeting to get at least 150 to 200 in person and also virtually the same number. So they found the speakers last year brilliant, the topics that were curated excellent. They loved the African flavor because indeed it is by Africans for Africans. And also those in L&D were particularly happy that we had our own conversation, not lost in HR. And they said that they wanted it to be longer because it was quite intense. So we've spread it out over 3 days. So you do need to join the conference. There's right now we are in the early bird stage that goes until Sunday, and then as of Monday next week, so that is in Kenya shillings, it's 45,000, and then it will be 48,000 for the standard rate. And then there'll also be the opportunity for you to join virtually. And if you join virtually, it will be 13,000. We always talk about the virtual for those who are very far and not able to travel. But we also say that why don't you come and, let's meet, belly to belly, talk to one another, engage, shake hands, sit together in the breaks and really engage. And so you're welcome. And for those who are coming in packs of 5 or more, so it might be an organization that might want to send its team, then the pricing will be, you will enjoy a 10% discount. And so in case you need more information, you can write to info at L&D Africa, or you write to the local secretariat at lndafrica@huruconsult.com, and we'll be more than happy to help you. We can also share the link if you want to register, and I'll be happy to share that with the team. October is just a night away. So tomorrow we will be in October, and we'd love to see you at the conference. This was the group photo from last year, and we'd love to have you in this year's conference. So thank you very much for your engagement. Look out for the slides and the details on the conference. We shall share those. As Jacinta is wrapping up, I'll also be happy to share the registration link in chat for those of you who would like to access it. And of course, there's also the QR code here that you can also scan. It's the same one that will lead you to the local registration. Thank you. Jacinta, I answered the amount. So it is 45,000 up to Sunday. Excuse me. And then after that, it will be 48,000 per person. And if you want to join virtually, it will be 13,000. But you know what? Research says that when you are in a virtual meeting, for hours and hours, we actually get tired faster than being in person. But yes, you can join virtually or you can join in person. Thank you very much. This has been great. I've enjoyed my time together. I love sharing about learning, and I love talking about transformation. It would be great to see what your takeaway is. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and looking forward to engaging with you in October and also privately. Sorry, I didn't share my email, so let me just share my contacts in case you'd like to engage further. So I'm just sharing them in chat. Over to you, Jacinta. Thank you.
Awesome, Caroline. That has been a wonderful session, full of knowledge and learning. Thank you so much. So, you have shared your email. I can only
Yes.
see. Thank you. I've seen it. So as we come to an end, maybe you can share your parting shot. And as you share that, I would like you to kind of give a mention on leaders where they can be able to create a culture of continuous learning and not just training events. Because we normally
Yes.
have a lot of trainings, but when it comes to learning, it's not implemented well. So you can share that
Exactly.
and share your parting shot as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. So my parting shot is let's be strategic, let's be intentional. So remember the steps. I shared the framework. Define and then plan, implement, review, learn. The last thing there is grow. So if you apply that, you'll notice change already before the end of the year, and I wish you well as you do that. Now, to answer the question about leaders and continuous learning, the important thing is to have the different ways of learning and to encourage your team to do so, because there's a part that the organization plays, but on the other side, there's a part that every individual needs to play. One of the things, because I do a lot of research on learning and learning practices, is that we found during COVID that a lot of people started curating their own learning. So people said, I've been always interested in painting. Now I have time, I'll take a course in painting. And there were a lot of courses being offered online for free. And people actually signed up, right? One of the things I do is that when I have a need, usually I'll go and see if there's a video on it on YouTube, and I'll study that video to learn and then begin applying. Another trend that was found is that there's micro learning. So people don't want a whole big program. Give me the learning for what I need now. So what organizations need to do is to take all that into account. That people like to learn independently, people like micro learning, people like learning together. And the best type of learning is hybrid learning. But learning doesn't end with the course. There's also the need for coaching. There's the need for mentorship. There's the need for even teams, as you're doing a project, to incorporate learning in there. And where does the change happen? Who drives that? As I said earlier, the leaders. So the leaders need to embrace learning instead of treating it like a stepchild. Go and stand there in the corner. When we need you, we'll call you. But to make it part and parcel of strategy achievement, because formal and informal learning, training leaders to be coaches and then really getting them to practice the coaching is what will elevate that culture of learning. Another key one for leaders is that if somebody makes a mistake, rather than coming with your big stick and hitting them on the head, treat that as a learning opportunity. Because I have a friend in HR, she usually says, nobody comes to work planning to be a disaster. So the disaster happens. Yes, the disaster happens. It may have cost us a lot of money. So there might be some need to do some disciplinary action if needed. But most of the time, even if you're disciplining, just as you do with a child, ask them, what have you learned? And then continue reinforcing the learning. I hope that helps. And it's really been great spending the evening together. Does that help, Jacinta? Yeah?
Yes, it does very much. And I believe that is what you'll be covering from October 5th. It's 15th to 17th, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's very helpful. Richard, I see you have joined. We have really been soaked into knowledge tonight. For those who have joined late, we were live on YouTube. We are still live on YouTube. You can still have a catch up and see what you can be able to gain from what you have learned tonight. Thank you so much to every person who joined. Caroline, thank you so much for the wonderful session that you have shared with us tonight.
My
I
pleasure.
believe it has been impactful to every one of us. who has been able to join. I see Catherine left in absentia. Thank you for your sign language interpretation. We do appreciate that. Paul as well, thank you. We have our links to our YouTube channel on the chat. Also, the WhatsApp group has been shared on the chat. You can join you if you haven't joined yet. As usual, this has been Get It Right with Atara Solutions. We are happy that you joined. Thank you and have a lovely night to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thinking to let someone get through, but you knew just what to do. You broke me down and pulled me